I call to order this meeting of the panel on food safety and environmental hygiene. We have a quorum, so let's give it a start. First of all, this meeting is scheduled to end at 5 because we have deputations who will be giving their comments today. And after the last meeting, 3 information papers were issued by the Secretariat. The first one, or one of them, is in relation to an import control on plant because of the Shelton Central Link, and the quarantine area will be relocated. So if there are no other questions, let's move on to the next item. Some information papers have been issued since the last meeting for members' reference. One in relation to street performance near Sheung Shui railway stations, then also a letter from Professor Joseph LEE on food products manufactured in Taiwan, and also the relocation of the quarantine area, as I mentioned just now. Date of the next meeting and items for discussion at the next meeting. The list of outstanding items for discussion have been forwarded to members. On the avian flu, last time we had a special meeting, and yet we have 2 new cases of H7N9 infections. Originally, the administration has proposed to withdraw this item, but may I suggest we put this item back on the list so that if there are further new cases, we can discuss this item. So do we agree to this arrangement? All right. Items for discussion next meeting include TMR trial scheme for stray dogs and handling of animal cases, including animal police. So if members agree, we will be inviting deputations to express their views. And our past experience tells us that there are quite a lot of concerned groups on animal welfare. So if members don't object, I'm going to extend the next meeting till for another hour. That means a 3-hour meeting next time. Next meeting will be scheduled for the 14th of January 2014, Tuesday in the afternoon, 2:30, a public hearing on animal welfare from 2:30 to 5:30, a 3-hour meeting. Apart from trap neuter return trial scheme, the other item, it's from the administration, proposed updating of the schedules to the pesticide residues in food regulation, cap 132 cm. So basically, there will be 2 items for the next meeting. In February and March, because of a number of food incidents or imported food incidents recently, we suggest we deal with food-related items sooner, and we'll discuss with the administration. What food incidents recently? We've received a number of letters, including the use of oil in Taiwan, and some more letters received in earlier meetings. Mr. Chang may wish to refer to some letters. Yes, but that doesn't mean I agree that there are food safety incidents in Hong Kong. Yes, you can be concerned about it, but I don't agree that we have food safety incidents in Hong Kong. All right, and on the list, we also have another item on total diet study. When the administration's ready, they will walk us through this item. Still on the list of outstanding items, there is an item on the review of the liquor licensing system, and I'd like to seek your views in this regard. I hope that studies can be conducted as soon as possible so that members can have more information and prepare themselves for the discussion about liquor licensing board and other liquor licensing regime in other jurisdictions. My suggestion is to invite the research division to conduct a research on the situation in other jurisdictions, and then we can look at our LLB and see how it can be improved. So do we agree that we ask the Secretariat to conduct this research for our reference? Mr. Tommy Cheung, I think nobody would object to asking the Secretariat to do more. However, on the matter of liquor licensing, I don't recall the name of the board. Business Facilitation, that's the unit. In fact, the Business Facilitation unit has a task force on food, and 2 or 3 years ago they looked at the problem, and from the administration there is an efficiency unit which reviewed this issue comprehensively. 2 or 3 years ago, the task force on food, the chairman of the task force considered the various aspects of liquor licensing comprehensively. Well, I'm not sure how detailed you would require the information to be. For example, Secretary has given examples on tobacco control and smoking ban on beaches, and he cited examples in all other jurisdictions. Now, Chairman, perhaps you could read the papers, because 2 or 3 years ago you weren't a member. All right, your view is noted, Mr. Tommy Cheung. You may recall that last year we passed a motion requesting for the review of the Liquor Licensing Board and its composition and enforcement. We have seen corruption cases whilst the police enforced the relevant laws, and the motion was carried by the panel asking for a review, and we're following up on the review. And isn't the Secretariat conducting this research? Subject to members' agreement, we're going to ask the research office of LegCo to prepare an information note. So if we have covered this topic before, we can ask them to collate the information and see whether there is any updated news as a result of the recent cases. So any objection to asking the research office to collate information for reference? Would those agree to this research being conducted? Please raise your hands. All right. So would the Secretariat please discuss with the research office, and we welcome other views. Item 3 on the agenda, on review of supply chain of powdered formula. The Secretariat prepared a background brief, and we also have a paper from Secretary Dr. Koh. There'll be 45 minutes roughly on this item. So I'll ask Secretary to briefly walk us through this item. Madam Chair, members, to combat the problem of parallel traders diverting large quantities of powdered formula away from the supply chain in Hong Kong, the government has regulated the export of powdered formula from Hong Kong since the 1st of March 2013 through legislative amendments. In the beginning of this year, we were of the view that the severe shortage of the powdered formula had had to do with the inadequacy in the supply chains, and because of that, the sector has implemented improvement measures. The administration has commissioned a consultant to conduct a stress test on the supply chain, including the coupon scheme. The outcome of the stress test is that during the National Golden Week, for certain particular brands of powdered formula, there is still shortage in the market, and there is still room for improving or enhancing the improvement measures proposed by the sector. Unless there is substantial improvement, it is hard to have adequate supply of powdered formula to meet the demands of local public. The committee has received the stress test findings and recommendations, and the committee comprises members of the wholesaler, retailers, as well as consumers. The assessment is accepted by members of the committee, and the committee agrees that it can be further enhanced. So, having considered the committee's view and the consultant's finding, we consider it premature to repeal the provisions introduced by the amendment regulation. There are 3 reasons. During the stress test, although the sector or the trade has spared no effort, there are still loopholes. The various improvement measures, including the coupon scheme, are called into question as to whether they can immediately address the issue. In light of this, the severe shortage of powdered formula experienced in early this year might repeat. Also, if the provisions are repealed, there might be a substantial increase in demand, and it is questionable whether the measures proposed by the trade can meet the increase in demand. And thirdly, there is still insufficient confidence from local parents on the coupon scheme as a safety net for supply. Should there be insufficient supply, especially from other than local demands, it might lead to crisis and panic buying. And therefore, the administration must continue to supervise and ensure the proper conduct of the supply chain. And we will report to the panel.
In view of the recommendation of the committee and the consultants, the voucher scheme should be improved on, and then there should be publicity to all the parents so that there is a big enough cluster. And when the scheme starts, we want to make sure that it can be implemented smoothly so that the safety net effect can be realized. Number 3, the suppliers should communicate effectively with parents, local parents, to understand their expectations so as to improve on the details of the scheme. Of course, there are other things that we are concerned about, for example, the stock replenishment mechanism. In order to help the committee's work, the Bureau is going to continue to employ consultants to study the supply and demand in the market and see whether there is irregular volatility of price of formula milk. The report will be submitted to the panel or the committee so that the committee can give views as appropriate. But I would like to stress that this is not about the stress test. We'll continue to follow up and do studies and gather information. In the future, the Bureau will continue to listen to the Supply Chain Committee and this panel's views. Depending on the improvement in the formula milk supply chain, we will look at whether or not any amendment is needed. And finally, I would like to say that during or before Christmas and the New Year, there may be tight supply, so parents should be well prepared for that. Since the commencement of the regulation, the supply at various retail outlets had improved quite a lot from the beginning of the year. There is a shortage of some very popular formula milk, and even though this law is still in place, there will be keen demand for certain brands of formula milk during Christmas and New Year, and so there may still be tight supply for certain brands. So I hope that Hong Kong parents can make their own plans for Christmas and Chinese New Year, so they should make advanced plans to buy the formula milk or make advance order to buy the necessary formula milk in order to meet the needs of their babies. Besides, the trade should adopt various means to improve the supply chain. When Christmas and the Chinese New Year approach, they should make sure that there will be enough supply and there should be enough publicity about various ordering mechanisms and channels. Next week, the committee will have its meeting, and then at that time, the trade will brief the committee on all the improvement measures and work that they are going to do. Thank you. Thank you, Secretary, for your presentation. Can a copy of the Secretary's remarks be given to us? Secretary, is it okay for us to make a copy of your speaking notes? So we want a copy for each colleague, right? Okay. Ho Chun Yin, KK Kwok, Wong Kwok Hing, Chan Chi Chun, Fan Kwok Wai, Alan Leung, Wang Yok Man, I myself, and Tommy Zhang have raised their hands. Who else would like to speak? Vincent Fang, who else? Michael Tin? Okay. 11 members would like to speak. So I'll allow 3 minutes for the first round. And okay, there is still Mr. Wu Chi Wai. So 3 minutes for the first round. If there is still time left, we can have a second round. Question plus answer, 3 minutes. First, Mr. Ho Chun Yin. 3 minutes only, Chairman. Well, this is a very important agenda item. 3 minutes would be too short. Okay, it doesn't matter. Secretary, according to the paper, the Bureau will appoint some consultants to look into the supply and abnormal volatility of price of formula milk in the market. So can detailed information be shared? Because apart from the supply chain, I think price is also important. When the administration says that there is no problem buying the formula milk, sometimes mothers don't want to buy it. It's because there's a price difference of a few $10. Okay, Permanent Secretary, please. Thank you. In the future, we will appoint consultant company to help us gather information in various districts about supply of formula milk and whether there is abnormal price volatility. The administration would like to have enough information on this issue. After the stress test, there are a lot of reports on the newspapers, the media. There are responses from parents. Suppliers have taken follow-up actions, but we think that the work is not comprehensive enough. If we do not have clear understanding of the actual supply in the districts, then we won't be able to formulate enough policies and enact appropriate rules and regulations. Just now, you talked about price. I would like to reiterate that we won't regulate price. We will only monitor and gather information. Thank you. I have follow-up questions. Just now, the Secretary said that in the future, there will be continuous studies and follow-up. But are you going to do stress tests? The public is not confident in your stress test because it seems that you have given advance notice. And if you are going to say that you won't tell right now because you don't want to give advance warning, then that's fine. Last time we conducted stress tests during peak demand periods. In these peak demand periods, even if I said nothing, the public would have known. Unless if you are going to say that I should conduct the test randomly at non-peak periods, then I can keep things secret. Otherwise, it will be difficult. We haven't decided on whether stress test is needed in the next stage. I want to clarify that we would just ask the consultant to gather information as stated by the Permanent Secretary. Next, Dr. K.K. Kwok. Just now, the Secretary said that parents should try to buy formula milk before the Chinese New Year. I don't want to see any shortage of formula milk tomorrow. Hong Kong children only need 1.65 million cans of milk, but now there's already 24.4 kilogram of formula milk flowing outward. Mainly, they went to the mainland market. So this is an endless story. It is futile to carry out stress tests. You can see that there are activities of the import parallel buyers or smugglers. I think in many places, even local parents are not able to buy the products. So if you want to do stress tests to offer benefit or to please the trade, it is not necessary. How much public funds have been spent in the stress test? If you are to hire consultants in the future, how much more money will you spend? For the mainlanders, they have no confidence in mainland import, wholesale, and retail. And even Wang Kwang bought formula milk in Hong Kong for his granddaughter. So what needs to be done in order to enable China to understand this? I think this is the source of the problem. Even if you do stress tests, even if you import a few 100,000 cans, if the mainlanders have no confidence in the product, this problem can't be solved. And I welcome your decision not to do away with all these arrangements. But next time, when you carry out these measures, I think local parents will be worried that you will cancel or abolish all these measures. The situation won't improve. It will worsen, really. Secretary, Chairman, I don't think my remarks will lead to unnecessary buying of formula milk by local parents. I just wanted to say that they should buy in advance because it's not far away from Christmas and Chinese New Year. 2 weeks to go. Now, so far, the government has no plan as to when to carry out stress tests. If there's the need, we'll discuss that. Number 3. Sorry, can you remind me of your question? How much money was spent in the stress test? Can we provide the information later? Yes, we need this information. Then how can you enable the mainland consumers to have more confidence? I think information has been open. Our discussion here and whatever the government has been doing and our position have been made public. So in Hong Kong and in mainland China, members of the public should have read the media reports. Mr. Wong Kwok Hing, Chairman, Secretary, I don't think this regulation should be abolished. I support this move of the government because otherwise food supply cannot be guaranteed for Hong Kong babies. Besides, just now the Secretary made some remarks. I am still very worried because you are asking Hong Kong parents to make plans, to make preparations, to buy powdered formula to meet the needs for Christmas and Chinese New Year. What you have said cannot really comfort people. It is like a signal. You are asking people to buy powdered formula right away or tomorrow. So I want to ask you, Secretary, what's the most important question? If I try to buy powdered formula, if I am not able to make advanced preparations, then what? Can you guarantee that Hong Kong babies can have powdered formula? Will there still be hotline that I can seek help, or will there be still the voucher or coupon for the milk? If the government can tell me that I can call a certain number, then within a few hours I'll be able to get the supply of powdered formula. Even if I cannot buy it from the market, then that is fine. I think this is the answer the public needs. Secretary, Chairman, this is a good opportunity for me to clarify. What I said just now is just out of common sense, because let's say even if I am a parent, I won't wait till my baby has finished consuming all the powder formula before I go to buy it. So if there is only stock for a week or a few days, I will buy the product in advance. So that's my message. Thank you, Mr. Wong Kwok Hing, for giving me this opportunity to clarify. Just now, I did not really make an appeal. I just want to remind people. Two members pointed out that my remarks may lead to panic. If that's the case, I would apologize. I don't really have that meaning in mind. I'm just saying that we would like to make sure that there will be milk for the coming weeks. Chairman, if people really can't get the powder formula available, then what? I think the Secretary hasn't answered this question.
What the administration can do is we adopt a multi-pronged approach. First of all, through the suppliers and retailers, we have set up a mechanism. At first, the mechanism was set up for the purpose of the stress test, but like I said, after the stress test has concluded, since we are not repealing the provisions, we are keeping this mechanism so that we can continue to communicate with our suppliers and retailers to improve the supply chain. And we have fully considered the outcome of the supply chain, and along with our observations, we have the view that the amendment regulation should be kept in place for the time being. Where there is huge demand, our mechanism is primarily to control the parallel goods being diverted away from Hong Kong, and we try to rein in the proportion so that a better balance can be struck for powdered formula to remain in Hong Kong. Will the hotline be effective still? Well, Mr. Wong Kwok Hing, please wait for your second round. Next, Mr. Ray Chan, followed by Mr. Gary Fan. Thank you, Madam Chair. On behalf of the babies and parents in Hong Kong, I'd like to thank the Secretary. According to the consultancy report and the outcome of the stress test, the amendment regulation will be put in place. But we all know that the administration can depart from the recommendations of the consultant. It might be due to the so-called a basket of factors, and also upon the instruction of the central authorities. I would say that it is difficult to do away with the amendment regulation in the shorter or medium term. Perhaps during Chinese New Year, it can withstand the stress test. But my question is whether there are other factors affecting the supply and demand. I'm talking about para B, and that is this stress test is conducted under regulated demand environment as to whether the repeal of the amendment regulation would affect the outcome of another stress test. That's questionable, because after you repeal the amendment regulation, you may have to do another stress test to see the outcome and see whether it should be introduced again. And some say that the powdered formula is kept at the back of the store for mainlanders only. And I thought that during the stress test, they would take out the reserved stock for supply, and yet the outcome of the stress test is that there is still a severe shortage of stock. So my question is, are you going, Secretary, did you just give us a gentle reminder because of the outcome of the stress test that we should stock up as soon as possible? Thank you, Mr. Chan, for your question, and thank you for allowing me the third time to clarify this point. During the peak demand, for powdered formula, they usually happens during Chinese New Year, the 1st of May, and the National Golden Week. So I just speak as an ordinary parent. As parents, we should plan ahead. I gave this reminder because I understand Hong Kong people are quite busy. Sometimes if you haven't planned ahead, and when you go out to buy powdered formula only when it's run out of stock at home, there may be problems, and that's why I gave this reminder. Mr. Gary Fan, followed by Mr. Alan Lau. Information contained in the consultancy report is quite worrying, and it explains why the amendment regulation should be kept in place for the time being. 95 retailers joined the coupon scheme, and according to the random inspection, 1/5 of the participating traders actually marked up the prices. There was shortage of stock in certain districts, but not other. So obviously, some traders have been hoarding stock, and there is also an explanation here. It is difficult to project demand from the mainland. As for Hong Kong babies under the age of 36, if we look at the CNSD statistics, we have the demand is specified about 275,000, and the reserved stock level is calculated as 1.65 million cans, meaning what the remaining stock is actually sold to parallel traders or to mainlanders. Secretary, we see prices being propped up by traders, and they're not managing the price properly and the supply properly to serve the babies in Hong Kong. Will the Secretary consider changing the amendment regulation to a medium or long-term measure in nature? Now, in March this year, when we discussed this issue, we asked whether whether we need to tackle this problem at source, that is to cancel the multiple entry visa. Some members asked not to repeal the provisions. However, on the other hand, they are against the cancellation of multiple visa. But this is exactly the source of the root of the problem. Secretary. Now, Mr. Fan, in relation to Import-Export General Amendment Regulation 2013, at the outset, the administration has already expressed that we have no intention to implement it as a long-term policy. However, I can't tell you at the moment when it will be cancelled. We don't have a timetable. What we can do now is to help our suppliers and retailers, and through joint effort, we improve the supply chain. As to the cans of powdered formula outside the supply chain or diverted from the supply chain in Hong Kong, in fact, I'd like to emphasize once again that the purpose of the amendment regulation is not to target mainland buyers, but to target smuggling or parallel trading activities. Parallel trading itself is not against the law. However, it is an effective means to divert a large quantity of powdered formula away from the supply chain. If each person can take away 20, 50, or even more cans of powdered formula from Hong Kong, parallel trading activities would be very efficient in this regard at low costs. And what we do now is to minimize the efficiency substantially. Originally, a trader may be allowed to bring 10 cans, but now they can only carry 2 cans, so that the efficiency is severely impacted upon, and that is conducive to keeping the powdered formula in local market. But I think this is a very wide topic, multiple visa. I don't think Secretary will be able to answer you at this meeting. Perhaps you can supply the information after the meeting. So next, Mr. Alan Leung, followed by Mr. Raymond Wong. Madam Chair, the coupon scheme for powdered formula originally aims at gaining confidence in local parents who need to buy powdered formula for their babies. But now there are problems as far as registration is concerned, and the lack of publicity and the details not being made known. And in fact, different suppliers or registration can be made with various suppliers at the same time. And I stand to be corrected, Secretary, but according to your paper, the administration has no role to play here. The administration only oversees the picture, and the consultant's report is that you can continue to improve the situation until to my satisfaction, the amendment regulation can be withdrawn. The consultant's report is this: one baby can registered under the coupon scheme with different suppliers simultaneously. So can the administration play a role in it to coordinate things so that you don't have duplication of registrations? And there are 7 recommendations in the consultant's report, in particular for number 5, 6, or 7, for establishment of a penalty system. I think this is for the administration to implement, that is sanction mechanism and a code of practice or guidelines, as well as avoiding abuse of the coupon system. This should be done by the administration. So has the administration a role to play in it? Secretary, I think the administration's role in this matter is, as pointed out by Mr. Alan Leung towards the end of his comment. In fact, the administration has a role to play. We have the responsibility to ensure that our suppliers retailers can take action to improve the supply chain so that local parents can buy sufficient powdered formula for their babies. And on this front, we think that during these times, when necessary, we need to ensure that this is being done. And some think that the government should not be doing it, and we nevertheless went ahead. At the time before the amendment regulation took effect, the administration set up a hotline, and diverse views were received. Some welcomed the administration's initiative in deploying resources to help local parents who could not buy powdered formula. But there were equally views that government resources should not be used to intervene the market. Like I said, we are striking a balance between the two. We try our best not to intervene, but during under important circumstances, we do give help on improving the supply chain. We have been sparing no effort in urging the trade to improve the supply chain, including better coordination and also the expediting of the registration under the coupon scheme, etc. We help in all these details to improve this scheme. We also have publicity effort. We also advise them to publicize it, because if we take up the part of publicity, we might be criticized for helping the business sector to publicize the scheme. So we advise them, apart from publicizing their brands or promoting their brands, they also need to publicize the improvement measures on the supply chain. Other than promoting their brands and attracting more customers, they should also publicize the improvement measures. So we have done a lot. At this stage, our role is such that I feel we have struck a balance.
Mr. Wang Yukman, and then I myself, and then Tommy Zhang. Thank you, Chairman. This is really a dilemma. Secretary, all along we support that we should attach more importance to local interests. But if you talk about the amendment regulation and all the measures thereafter, you have to do a fundamental review. Just now you didn't answer Mr. Fan Kwok Wai's question. We are talking about the IVS and leading to all the smuggling activities. This is something that the government has to face up to. Now your bureau only tries to tackle the problem on the surface. There is no root solution. Of course, you will be scolded or criticized by all the IVS travelers seriously. But when should you intervene? When should you not? On what level? I think you have to be very accurate in all these, as you said just now. Now, in the market of powdered formula, overall speaking, there is no shortage, but there is shortage for certain brands, and in the past there was stockpiling as well. So if there is not a timetable and you're saying that you have to maintain all these measures, then you are helping the popular brands to enjoy market-leading position. You are ruining fair competition. You may say so, really. So this is a dilemma. So if you do not pinpoint at the IVS and also the root cause of all the smuggling activities, if you don't do a comprehensive review, you won't be able to solve the problem. Now, two consultants are here. According to the consultants' test, the administration is now proposing that it is not the right time to abolish the amendment regulation. One of the reasons is that local parents still have not built up enough confidence on the safety net. I really agree with you, but not for the same reasons. Who really have trust in the government? Yesterday, I talked to Professor Chow Wing-sung. I said that he has high credibility, so he should not be involved in the study about universal or territory-wide retirement scheme. Nobody trusts the government, so whatever you do is futile. I really sympathize with Dr. Ko. Among all the secretaries, you are really serious in your work. You have a higher popularity among members of the public. But this is really a dilemma. There should be no more procrastination. If you do not face up to this structural problem, then what? Secretary, Mr. Wang hasn't left time for you to answer. Secretary, you have got only 1 minute. Many members pointed out many reasons. Leading to the demand for powdered formula by non-locals, and also the keen competition for powdered formula among the locals, and also a comparison between the local and non-local demand. Mr. Wang has pointed out some macro issues. We think that the amendment regulation can divide up things. Well, we face huge demand, but then Hong Kong demand is relatively smaller. Well, for the big demand, I think that is mainly from the smugglers. Okay, we are talking about unbalanced demand. I have made use of a medical or physical triage arrangement, so that for the smuggling channel, there are no more obstacles. Costs go up and efficiency will be lower. So as a result, powdered formula flowing to the smuggling channel will be smaller in quantity. And then for the local channel, the amount of powdered formula supply will be bigger, relatively speaking. So I think this is quite a targeted approach. We're talking about big difference in the demands. Secretary, my question is this. Based on the government stress test, and the Democratic Party has also conducted some stress tests in Sheung Shui. There is only one brand, Mead Johnson, in which there is shortage very often, and in the Northern District it's as high as 47%. The government has appointed representatives of Mead Johnson as members of the committee. So why is it that the problem still cannot be solved about the overall supply chain, especially supply of this brand? Based on your study, how big is the chance that this problem can be solved in the future? Chairman, as you said, in this matter, from the beginning till now, we have been actively enabling our active stakeholders, including suppliers of powdered formula, to take part in this matter. In the market, the brand that enjoys relatively big demand is being incorporated in our work. We understand that suppliers and retailers have been working very hard. Objective facts have proven that the effectiveness is still not good enough, even though everybody is working very hard. Now, if you look at the participation rate or publicity or operation details of the voucher scheme, the result is that local parents are not confident enough, or they find the scheme not convenient enough. So as a result, the take-up rate or utilization rate is not high enough. As the consultant report pointed out, well, they have their scientific way to work out the minimum number of participating retailers required, but then the number is at least 50% in short, so there is still room for improvement. Some retailers have stated clearly that after today, they may consider attracting or arranging more retail outlets to join. So in the future, there is room for improvement. However, I really cannot answer your last question, sorry. Okay, next, Mr. Tommy Zhang and then Mr. Vincent Fang. Chairman, reading from your paper, I realized that suppliers can make supply available on a daily basis. And this is better than the situation in February and March when we met with the suppliers. I don't know whether you have the information. Now, every day, they can make supply available. But how many days in advance should delivery be made? Let's say if I don't have any stock, if I make a call today, can I get the delivery tomorrow? I don't know how fast they can react. Do you really know? Chairman, 2 points. I really agree with Mr. Tommy Zhang that the retail and supply chain arrangements are yet to be improved. I said that things are not effective enough. So comparing with the demand peak during the Golden Week, and the result of the stress test is a failure. Yes, I will answer you because we're talking about a technical issue, so I would like the consultants to offer you some information. Okay, please be brief because I have some more questions to ask. About delivery, 1 working day is not enough. Actually, the pharmacies can receive delivery 1 day after making order. Well, at that time we said that they have to buy 1, 2, 3, 4 together, so it's a bundle. Is this still the arrangement at the retail outlet? I would like to defer to our consultant. During the test period, we did not observe this phenomenon. So if I want to buy Mead Johnson 1, then I will be given 1, and I will not be asked to buy also 2, 3, 4, right? Correct. During the stress test, when you look at the inventory at pharmacies, did you also look at importers? How much inventory of Mead Johnson 1 was there in their warehouse? Is it true that they had inventory in their warehouse? Or people didn't even make order, even though they know that delivery could be received 1 day later? We observed different brands and different stages or different product of powdered formula. Some pharmacies promised 252 cans. So, in other words, pharmacies asked for 252 cans, but then deliveries could not be made. Is that the case? The pharmacy required 252 cans. 252, yes. 252 cans. Okay, 252 cans, but then the suppliers could not supply that, right? They promised that every day they could make available 252 cans, but still that was not enough. Within their pharmacies, there were 252 cans, but all were sold out. The promise was that 252 cans would be made available. I need 25 seconds more. Can you try my stress test? Let's say Mead Johnson. If you only restrict Mead Johnson and not the other brands, I think supply of Mead Johnson will come back right away. This is just a suggestion. This is named Tommy Zhang stress test. Let me supplement. During the stress test period, on the retail level, our retailers promised that for each retail outlet, there would be at least 252 cans of powdered formula. But in some of these stores, they did not live up to their promise to retain 252 cans to meet the demand for that day. But we're not running out of stock. I don't really understand. Okay, anyway, time is up. Next member, Mr. Vincent Fang, and then Mr. Michael Tin. Thank you, Chairman. Secretary, at the beginning I was against the amendment regulation. I think you know about this. This regulation could not achieve its intended result. You can see now that it's not effective. The consultants said that the coupon scheme was not good. There are not enough participants. But you have to understand that the stores, the retail outlets participate on a voluntary basis. It's not mandatory in nature. And I have said to you that with this amendment regulation, the parallel importers would be even more outrageous. It's like ants moving their homes, but then now there are more ants moving. In the past, if you worked in mainland China, or many young people went to mainland China for leisure, well, many people carried 2 cans of powdered formula across the border, because in that way they could make a few $100. So why not? Now supply has increased a lot. Every month there are 3 million cans. Hong Kong babies only need 1.5 million cans. But now with this regulation of the government, if I need to cross the border, if I do not take 2 cans to make $100-200, then I would be dumb. So now sales have increased to 3 million cans. So, Secretary, no matter what test you are going to do, that won't be effective, because you are encouraging the ants to move their home. So you have to first identify who are really the Hong Kong babies and mothers. I think you have to adopt the Macau approach, and that is the babies born in Hong Kong should be given cards. Otherwise, with this amendment regulation, was like pleasing the trade. You don't need to please the trade. The trade now enjoys a lot more business than before. In the past, people didn't go to mainland China. People didn't come to buy formula milk, but now they are. So the trade has enjoyed better business. If the trade doesn't cooperate with the government, then it's a big trouble.
So I hope the administration would seriously look into this. Why don't you do something like a card for Hong Kong babies? Secretary, you don't have time to reply to this question. Mr. Vincent Fang asked a question about parallel trading activities in Macau, but there are no complaints from parents in Macau. Would you like to follow up on this issue? In fact, I have answered this question before. So, Madam Chair, with your permission, I'd like to answer this question again. I respect the approach taken by the government of Macau, but I'd like to stress on various aspects. There are differences between Hong Kong and Macau. The overall population, the number of babies requiring powdered formula, and parallel trading activities. We see in terms of magnitude, things are very different between Hong Kong and Macau. We can't make comparisons, and I don't think by adopting a similar approach we can ensure supply of powdered formula in Hong Kong. As to the saying by Mr. Fang that the amendment regulation is wrong judgment, I don't agree. What we do is we adjust the huge or narrow the gap between demand and supply, and the distribution is beneficial to the market locally. Mr. Michael Tian, followed by Mr. Wu Chi Wai. Madam Chair, may I gently remind you that originally you said the time should be limited to 3 minutes, questions and answers included, but now it has increased to 6 minutes. Now, early this year, the New People's Party and the proposed stepping up regulation on the supply of powdered formula. However, we never suggested that it should be a long-term measure. We oppose it, in fact, because Hong Kong abides by the principle of free market and market economy. We support short-term market intervention, but this cannot be made a long-term measure. So I see that all the problems happen at the retail level, like ants moving homes and the failure of the stress test. About the hotline for local parents that withstood the stress test. And I asked some friends, they only needed to wait for some time, and they could buy powdered formula. However, prices have gone up by about 5 to 8%. The Mothers Club is controlled by suppliers, and each brand has its own Mothers Club. So why doesn't the administration discuss with them? The major problem now is the price. If something can be done via administrative means, say to push it down by 1%, and that's subject to negotiation between them and the administration. There are conflicts, parents, parallel traders, suppliers, so many parties involved. In fact, you can negotiate with the several major brands as long as they are in the Mothers Club, as long as they can show the membership, they can get supply. So I'd like to hear from the administration secretary. Well, all along we have been liaising closely with suppliers under our mechanism, but I emphasize that we will not limit the pricing of any commodities. No, and at the same time, I remind members of the trade that they should not prop up the prices. Under the coupon scheme, pricing of powdered formula should tally with the recommended prices of from the suppliers. So we're concerned whether the prices are being propped up. So if you think this isn't happening, then and the consultant's report states that the Mothers Club can withstand the stress test. So why don't you take this approach? Why are you still conducting the stress test at the retail level? Because through the Mothers Club, this can meet the local demand. Mothers Club, coupon scheme, etc. We cannot compel mothers to join these schemes or club. For mothers enrolled under the coupon scheme, the number was not as many as we expected, so we can't call this scheme a success at this stage. We still have a number of members wishing to speak in the first round, Mr. Wu Chi-wai and a couple of others. Who else would like to speak for the first round? If not, I'll draw a line here. We don't have time for a second round. Mr. Wu Chi-wai. Thank you, Madam Chair. The report is clear. To tackle the problem, we need to distinguish local demand and demand from the mainland. Secretary said a number of times that we must not intervene in the market, but the report is very frank in terms of the local supply and the Mothers Club. Things are not satisfactory. So, Secretary, do you have a timetable as to when the coupon scheme can be improved and publicized so that after distinguishing demand, we can narrow down the differences and minimize controversies? Madam Chair, on the diversion arrangement, as pointed out in the consultant's report, this is important. At least twice, just now, I explained that the amendment regulation itself is a diversion measure. We impose restrictions on diverting powdered formula to parallel traders so that the situation can improve, and we can further enhance the improvement measures by enrolling more suppliers or retailers. We have some 95 under the coupon scheme at present, and according to the consultant's report, it should be the ideal number should be 175, and more publicity should be done on the coupon scheme so that local parents can be made aware of the scheme. As for timetable, I cannot answer this question because we need more time to monitor the situation to come up with a timetable as to when we can actually resolve the problem. If there is no timetable at all, that means this problem will just persist. Powdered formula has to do with demand from various places in the mainland. So if we cannot have a proper diversion of demand, this amendment regulation will become a long-term measure, and this is unfair to our society and the market. In relation to local demands, would the administration come up with efficient ways to enroll suppliers and retailers in the scheme so that it can achieve effectiveness? Secretary, no need to answer, just think about how you're going to follow up on it. Next, Dr. Joseph LEE, followed by Mr. Chen Han-pan. Secretary, the approach is really is it really effective? In the past, parallel traders carried 50 cans. Now they only brought 2 cans, so that everyone going to the mainland would carry 2 cans. So actually, the diversion arrangements is that you attracted more people to become parallel traders. If you say that there is nothing wrong with local suppliers, well, overall speaking, the supply stands at 1.65 million. But for particular brands, there are problems. There is still shortage. Overall speaking, you impose diversion arrangements on the demand side. For supply, I don't know, for some reasons, for certain brands, there is shortage. Can you guarantee here that for the popular brands, supply can be ensured so that so as to meet local demands, and at retail outlets, can you ensure that parents can buy powdered formula? Can administrative measures be introduced to ensure that there is adequate supply on the part of suppliers so that you won't hear complaints from local parents? I don't agree with the amendment regulation, but the problem is with supply. The problem is that certain brands is short of supply, so that local demands are not met. Stop talking about theories like diverting demand, etc., because it's not effective. Can you ensure that for certain brands, supply is adequate for local demands? Secretary, I don't agree with Professor Joseph LEE that by introducing this arrangement, we're encouraging more parallel traders to take part in it like ants moving home, because without any restriction, a parallel trader can carry as many as 50 cans. With huge demands in the mainland, one person can carry 50 or even 100 cans, while some might only carry 1 or 2 cans. So I don't agree to the allegation that everyone would have carried 50 cans, and because of the limitation, they carried only 2. Mr. Chan Han-pan. Secretary, from your voice, I feel that you're not very well, so please take care. I think not repealing the amendment regulation is a responsible move, because once you impose the regulation, it's hard to repeal it. And in the past, the administration conducted a stress test. We ourselves also conducted a stress test, and 40 pharmacies locally experienced shortage of stock. So for several particular brands, we still see a shortage. In fact, these 2 brands' problems affect the public sentiment. So the administration should consider ensuring the supply of these 2 brands. And we all understand that this will not be a long-term measure. So what will be the next step for the Secretary? Will more stress tests be conducted, or will you wait until later? The DAB suggested the setting up of outlets to separate local demands from non-local demands near boundary checkpoints, so that our local markets will not be affected. If you set up outlets near BCPs, it can create opportunities as well as helping to address local demands. We'll do that.
Thank you, Mr. Chen, for the question. Mr. Chen is concerned about what will be the next step. Christmas and the Chinese New Year are coming. So we attach a lot of importance to the way forward. So we will work with the powdered formula manufacturers and retailers to make sure that there will be a better supply chain, so that the market can be stabilized during Christmas and Chinese New Year. I agree with Mr. Chan. This is a problem for certain brands. Of course, we cannot introduce measures just to target at certain brand, but perhaps we need to do more with some brand in relation to stock replenishment or the coupon scheme or publicity hotline. Yes, we will remind that particular brand or those brands to do more work, because they face much bigger demand. As regards stress tests, as I said, we do not have a timetable to conduct the next stress test. We'll continue to monitor the situation. We'll continue to monitor and improve the demand and supply. You talked about the border. Well, we have considered that, but there are difficulties. Who should be responsible for the border? If you said that it should be the government, then will the government be interfering with commercial activities? If this should be taken up by the business sector, is that easy? I think this is a very technical issue. It's not as simple as that. Okay, we have to conclude our discussion of this item. Thank you, Secretary, for attending. Our next agenda item is proposed measures for compliance with fire safety requirements for food premises. So we'll invite the government officials and deputations to come in. Thank you, consultants. Thank you, government officials, for coming. We have overrun a bit, so I would like to see which members would like to speak for this item, and we have to see whether we need to extend this meeting. Some time ago, the Secretariat has already distributed the relevant information papers to members. The government has given us a paper. On this item, members have agreed that deputations can be invited to come. We have received from 5 deputations that they would like to come, but then the 5th deputation had decided at the last moment not to come. So we can now invite the 4 deputations to join us. There are 2 deputations which are not here, but they have already sent in their written submissions. The written submissions have been provided for your reference by our Secretariat. Let's welcome representatives of the 4 deputations for attending this public hearing. There is a headset and a microphone at your seat. Channel 0 is the floor, Channel 1 Cantonese, Channel 2 English. Deputations, thank you very much for attending this meeting, for giving your comments to this panel. When you make your representations, please pay attention to the point that you won't be protected by LegCo Special Powers and Privileges Ordinance. And we will invite deputations to speak one by one. Each deputation will have 3 minutes to speak. We will check the time. If you haven't sent in your written submission, please do so before you leave, so that we can have a formal record. So we will listen to all 4 deputations first at one go, and then we will invite the Undersecretary, Professor Sylvia Chan, to make a brief response, and then members will have time to ask questions. Mr. Chung Shu Kan and Mr. Wong Kwok Hing would like to speak. Mr. Chen Hang Ban. Okay, let's start. Hong Kong and Kowloon Vermicelli and Noodle Manufacturing Industry Merchants General Association, Mr. Feng Bing Hao, 3 minutes. Chairman, members, good afternoon. Our association objects to the proposal from the FSD because, well, there are some new licensing conditions, and that will be packed to the warning letter. We are against this. We attach most importance to the license. If our license is revoked, then nothing can be done. The loss cannot be estimated. If we are against fire safety requirements, the administration can prosecute us. This is a well-established approach. There is not the need to warn that the food license should be revoked. In recent years, the catering industry was being pressurized. The administration has imposed a lot of new rules and regulations. For example, about food safety. We are the final gatekeeper, and we have to shoulder the responsibility of monitoring and surveillance. And now we also have to shoulder the responsibility to monitor all the facilities, equipment, and furniture used. If there's the need to enhance regulation of the material used in furniture, I think this should be done at source. The responsibility should not be passed on to the catering business. In our association, we have many members that are small food stalls or food premises, and there's not enough manpower and expertise to guard against buying substandard or unhealthy furniture. So we are against the proposal. Next, Hong Kong Catering Industry Association, Mr. Tony Tam. You have 3 minutes. Thank you, Chairman and members. Good afternoon. Concerning the new fire safety measures, well, we have received some member associations notice that they object to the proposal. We really don't understand that when you commissioned the business assessment, why did you say that the industry has accepted the proposal? We have to clarify that under the existing law, we have to abide by fire safety laws, otherwise we'll be prosecuted. So our association really doesn't understand. Apart from prosecution, why is it that our license will be pegged directly to this system? In other words, there is one more knife on top of our head. This is really unfair to our industry. Comparing with other industries, they have their own furniture. For example, beauty salons, retailers, comic book stores, and so on. They don't have this kind of license. So there won't be some new measures being imposed on their licenses. So is this really reasonable? In recent years, we face very difficult operating environments. Costs are going up. Operating risks are getting bigger. And now we have to absorb and we have to face up to more and more fire safety licensing requirements. In face of such requirements, the furniture manufacturer or supplier will pass on to the additional cost to us. So this is really an additional burden. Please sympathize with our situation and object to the additional burden on us. I think the new certification requirements should be in line with the provisional license, and the grace period should be lengthened from 1.5 months to 5 months, so that there would be less nuisance caused on the industry. Thank you. Next, Association of Restaurant Managers, Mr. Lang Chanhua, 3 minutes. Chairman, members, good afternoon. Concerning the FSD's proposal about new licensing conditions, we are required that we have to comply with the fire safety requirement, and there will be a new warning letter system. Our association objects strongly to this. The FSD has taken on board some comments, and they have asked the consultant company to do a study on business environment. However, the result of the assessment is such that the industry generally welcomes the new recommendations or proposal. Well, we really question this assessment. I think the industry has said that the new proposal is really unacceptable. The license is being pegged to the fire safety requirements. This is not fair. In recent years, in relation to fire safety, I think a lot of measures have been put in place, and there were seldom fatal fire accidents. Besides, for those who are not in compliance with the fire safety requirements, prosecution can be done by FSD. So there's not the need for this proposal. If there are additional licensing conditions, then we have to shoulder additional risk of license being revoked or suspended. So this will damage the business environment of the food premises. In recent years, we have to face additional costs in terms of rent and wage, and then there's shortage of manpower. And now you are increasing our operating risk. All the fire safety responsibility is passed on to us. So we are against all these moves. We find them unacceptable. Thank you. Next, Institution of Dining Arts, Mr. Calvin Yao. Chairman, members, good afternoon. For the new proposed fire safety requirements to be followed by food premises, I want to write on behalf of all our 2,000 members that we are against the proposal. Now, concerning the fire accident in Kawa building, it's not related to the food premises. So if there are additional licensing conditions, it's not reasonable. Of course, we agree that fire safety is very important, but it should not be pegged to the food license. The details in the proposal are not in line with our actual operation. When we apply for the provisional license, we have to produce all the related invoices, and for the furniture used in food premises, they are mainly procured from mainland China, and usually we will make the final payment sometime after delivery is received. There will be 6 weeks grace period for the provisional license holders. However, the application or applicants do not have enough time to produce all necessary documents. And then the furniture suppliers may require the food premises to pay additional money, and the industry cannot spend additional money to test the furniture. Usually, when there is fire accidents in food premises, it is related to the ventilation system, and there are really seldom cases that they are related to the material used in the furniture. And if you talk about FS 251 certificates and also the ventilation system annual check certificate, it will be difficult to produce all these during application. Where there are a lot of difficulties, and it takes time and manpower to iron out all those difficulties. We may have to put in place additional facilities, and so I think there is the need for a longer grace period. On the whole, we think that the new measures are not reasonable. It will be even more difficult to apply for the license, and there will be additional risk of license being revoked. The procedure will be more cumbersome, and expenses associated will be much higher. As a result, operating costs of food premises will go higher.
4 deputations have spoken. We have also received written submissions. I'll invite Professor Sophia Chan, Undersecretary for Food and Health, to respond to deputations first before I open the floor to questions by members. We have Mr. Christopher Zhong, Wong Kwok Hing, Chen Han Pan, Wu Chi Wai, Tommy Zheng, who have raised their hands to ask questions. So, Undersecretary, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Now, I thank members of the trade to have attended this meeting and express your views here. And allow me this opportunity to walk members through this paper and give a brief response. This paper seeks to ensure compliance by food premises on fire safety related regulations. The background was that in 2008 there was a fire in Cornwall Court which aroused public concern over fire safety of licensed premises, especially those patronized by members of the public in large number. In 2010, in May, the Ombudsman, in relation to the fire safety regulatory measures for food premises, issued a direct investigation report which sets out improvement measures. The efficiency unit in June 2011 completed a study on fire safety control and related management measures. And in the recommendations put forward by the efficiency unit, 3 of them are about food establishment meeting the FST regulations. So our proposal is to ensure that there is compliance by the sector. We're not imposing or shifting the responsibility onto them. And like we said just now, we commissioned a consultant to conduct a BIA study, and we also consulted the sector. We hope to ensure public safety and also consider facilitation of the business sector. And according to the BIA study, there won't be extra costs in meeting the requirements, and through redeployment of manpower resources, the requirements can be met. And of course, we just heard some opposing views, and our consultant is also present. Perhaps we can ask the consultant to deliberate on their BIA study. And for the proposed new measures, the light refreshment restaurants, general restaurants and canteens should comply with the FSRs, and an additional licensing condition will be imposed such that licensees are required to observe the FSRs at all times. And there will also be a monitoring mechanism to deal with non-compliance cases. Breaches will be categorized into serious breaches and minor breaches. For breaches of major fire safety related regulations, the FSD will issue relevant notices and allow reasonable period for the licensee to rectify the breaches. And if the licensee fails to comply or rectify the breaches within the reasonable or the time specified, or if the request is ignored, the FSD will take action, and the FEHD will also take action under Section 1251B of the Public Health and Municipal Services Ordinance Cap 132 to suspend immediately the license. For minor breaches, warning letters will be issued to the licensee requiring him or her to rectify the breaches within 30 days. For example, if the licensee fails to comply with the warning letter, the license is subject to suspension or even cancellation. The second new measure proposed is in relation to the 3 types of food premises. We want to ensure compliance with FSRs before license renewal. And we propose to impose additional licensing conditions such that these licensees should have been issued FS 251 and AIC before they can their licenses can be renewed. If the FSD hasn't received their valid FS 251s and AICs at the time of their renewal, the licenses will not be renewed. The third new measure is compliance with FSRs for issuing P licenses. We propose to amend the certificate of compliance C, fire safety requirements, that's Form C, in relation to whether the premises have used polyurethane foam, PU filled mattresses and upholstered furniture. Fire safety test certificates should be submitted. If the licensee is unable to submit the relevant certificates and invoices immediately, a 6-week period will be allowed, and we understand from the trade that roughly 6 weeks will enable them to obtain the invoices. These measures are in line with the trade practices without compromising fire safety. And the administration is responsible for ensuring public safety and to ensure that these food premises comply with the relevant FSRs. I understand just now members of the trade have put forward their operational difficulties under the new measures because things might be different. You might find it inconvenient. For details, we can put our heads together. For example, if invoices cannot be obtained within 6 weeks, the FSD can, on a case-by-case basis, seek justification. So there is discretion in this matter, and we must understand that the administration has the duty to ensure public safety and safety of food premises, and the Director of Fire Services must take enforcement action against breaches, and that is all along we have been doing. We want to improve our work so that even for license renewal, these can be factored in so that the period can be given for the trade to rectify the minor breaches and major breaches. Under Secretary, I may have to stop you here. I note the time. Maybe let's hear the questions from members first. You still have the opportunity to answer, Under Secretary. We have Mr. Christopher Chung, followed by Mr. Wong Kwok Hing. Questions and answers included 4 minutes each. If you would like to seek an answer from Under Secretary, please allow her some time. Thank you, Madam Chair. I heard just now, as the administration put it, there shouldn't be a great impact on the trade. And I'd like to know from the deputations whether there will be extra costs after the new measures are introduced. Please tell us what new costs and will burden be imposed on you and on FS 251. If you're required only to submit FS 251s for your own premises, will there be any difficulties because you're no longer required to submit FS 251s for the whole building? Would any deputation like to take this question? What is the biggest problem if you are to follow this new proposal from the administration? I am from the Institute of Dining Art. I take the question on PU foam certificate. At the time of license application, we are already required to submit all the certificates. Many pieces of furniture are from mainland, and it takes 2 or 3 months before we get all the certificates. So it's quite difficult for us, and it is impossible for us to take our furniture to undergo tests. So will there be any difficulty in meeting all the fire safety related regulations? Should the administration take this question? No, I'm asking the trade. Would you know whether your furniture would be issued certificate? In fact, he's not talking about replacing all the furniture. We're talking about the new license applications. Mr. Fong, you would like to respond? Yes. We always criticize the Fire Services Department for being irresponsible. For the upholstery, furniture materials, the responsibility is now on us, but they are the government department. You talk about monitoring or tackling the problem at source. Why can't the FSD give accreditation or certification first before we buy the products? So we object to this idea because they should not be shifting their responsibility onto us. We're not in that business. We're in the food business. It's impossible for us to test whether the upholstery is inflammable or not. I don't understand why the administration is shifting their work on us. From the administration, I'll give a brief response now. Let the FSD supplement. When we issued food establishment licenses, one of the licensing conditions is that you must meet the FSR. As for fire safety, the regulations, the criteria, etc., they are set down by the FSD. So if it's non-compliant, we cannot issue the license. And may I defer to Mr. Cheung to take this question as to whether PU foam furniture will be used. Is up to the licensee to decide whether the furniture should contain this material. And there are different designs, and we cannot impose a testing method across the board. Sometimes after the furniture has been designed, they will ask the manufacturer to submit the testing report, and we allow some time for such testing reports to be submitted. And according to the consultant's report, there seemed not to be any difficulty in this regard.
Next, Mr. Wong Kwok Hing and then Mr. Chang Hang Bang. Chairman. After the disastrous fire accident, the government proposed measures to enhance fire safety. Well, this is reasonable and natural. However, many food premises are being operated. They are not newly established. So if you consider the furniture, the installations, equipment, especially the sofa, and also furniture made of PU foam, if you consider all these, I would like to ask the administration, have you taken into consideration difficulties presented by the industry? Can you find a point of balance? On one hand, you can enhance fire safety. You can protect public safety. At the same time, the operators' difficulties can be alleviated. So, has the administration taken into consideration a transitional period for them to adapt to more easily? For example, in vehicles, there should be emission reduction. There should be new equipment to achieve emission reduction. And in this exercise, there is a transitional period. And heavy buses or operators or owners of heavy buses are given subsidy to replace their vehicles. Then my second question is, did the government offer a subsidy to help them ride out the difficulties? Because they are talking about practical difficulties. So will the government offer some subsidy? I haven't heard any plan that the government is going to subsidize the work. Number 3, now there is this system of provisional license. In other words, before the applicants get the formal license, they can get a provisional license. So can these safety requirements be dealt with under the provisional licenses? So the situation will be less passive. These are the 3 questions I would like to ask. Under Secretary, okay, I will defer to the Permanent Secretary to take the question. When we designed the current arrangement, we have taken into consideration these views. Concerning the grace period related to furniture, we have already taken on board the consultant's recommendation to offer a 6 weeks grace period. You mean 6 weeks after the notice? Yes. I understand that the industry is concerned about whether there will be enough time to rectify the situation if there really is a breach. In case of a mild or minor breach, we know that now they have at least 30 days to rectify the problem. Based on our understanding with the FSD colleagues, sometimes they will exercise discretion to see whether there are reasonable grounds to ask for more time to rectify the situation. So at least they will get 30 days. So there will be some buffer already. Chairman, I cannot wait for my second chance. I just need a few more minutes or a few seconds. As I said just now, it is reasonable to try to enhance safety. However, I think this is a rather bureaucratic approach because you offer 6 weeks or at most 30 days. If we're talking about an operating food premises, and then by just giving them a notice, then in 30 days they have to replace all the sofas or furniture that are not up to standard. I think this is very bureaucratic. You have not taken into consideration actual operating difficulties of the trade. If the result is that many operators will have to close down, then investors will be harmed, and then many employees will be out of job. Okay, we have heard your view. Chairman, I would like to clarify. Upon renewal of license, first of all, to get a license, they have to comply with all the fire safety requirements, and those have not been changed. Unless after getting the license, they replace all the furniture. If they do not do that, there won't be the question that they have to replace all the furniture or to buy new furniture. Okay. Next, Mr. Chen Hangban and then Mr. Wu Chi-wei. Thank you, Chairman. Referring to paragraph 16 of the paper, there is a BIA study, and in general, the trade welcomed the government's initiative to raise awareness of fire safety issues. Now, this is totally different from what we have heard from the trade. You said that the trade is in general in support. However, the trade doesn't really welcome these initiatives. So I would like to know how this BIA study was conducted. Who conducted it? Can you ask them to explain? Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chen. I have heard the concerns of the trade. Perhaps there is a difference from the BIA study. Our consultants are here. They adopted a scientific approach to conduct consultation. Perhaps I'll defer to our consultant. Mr. Ng? Chairman, members, good afternoon. We are from Deloitte, Consulting. My name is Alan Lam. Now I would like to explain how the consultancy report was prepared. We communicated with the trade, the licensees and operators, and we gauged their views about the government's proposal. Points raised are similar to what the deputation said. They asked why they have to shoulder additional burden. I want to know which representatives or which operators have you communicated with? We have interviewed 70 interviewees. They are from large, medium-sized, and small enterprises. For small enterprises, they have 10 people or below. For medium-sized, 10 to 50. Large enterprises, 51 or above people in the enterprise. And these include entertainment, catering, hotel, retail, food businesses. All different categories of licenses that may be affected are covered. There are some on-ground stores and also premises on upper stories. There are places where there is no property management company, and in terms of districts, there are different districts covered. So these are 70 representatives whom we have interviewed. In Hong Kong, there are so many food premises. Okay, you have only approached 70. I cannot really question your scientific approach. The consultant must be professional. I'm sure your methodology and your rationale is scientific. Can 70 interviewees represent the whole trade? Have you consulted some trade associations or some federations? Or, for example, the Hong Kong Catering Industry Association, have you consulted them? Can 70 interviewees represent the whole industry? I do have doubts. Thank you. We have consulted various associations. For example, Hong Kong Federation of Restaurants and Related Trade, Federation of Hong Kong Hotel Owners, Nightclub Association, Mahjong Parlor Association, Entertainment Business Right Concern Group, Hong Kong Bars and Karaoke Rights Society, Hong Kong Kowloon Nightclub General Association, and so on. So apart from those 70 participants or licensees, we attended some consultation sessions organized by or attended by Institution of Dining Art, Café de Corral, Hong Kong Catering Industry Association, UA Cinema, Circuit Limited, and so on. I don't think you need to read out all those names. Institution of Dining Art is here. We didn't hear any welcome remarks from them. So is there some problem? The purpose of the assessment is that we would like to understand the operation difficulties that the trade may encounter after all these measures are put in place. So we will not interview all practitioners in Hong Kong. We want to know if the new measures are introduced, whether the trade will encounter some operation difficulties. So in the interview, as I said just now, their preliminary answer was no. They asked why they should shoulder additional burden. When the measures are implemented, they only need to operate as usual. They don't need to carry out new activities. They won't be subject to new requirements. And in relation to fire safety, in the interview, they have given us their comments. So our impression is that they will not object to the new measures. Okay, Mr. Wu Chi-wai and Mr. Tommy Zhang, Thank you, Chairman. Here are two major scenarios. First, you're referring to FS251 certificate and the annual inspection certificate, and these will be pegged to renewal of license. Concerning FS251, it's in accordance with the new standards. In the past, when I was a waiter, I know that when license was issued, then the licensing conditions were applied were good at that time. And unless if you committed certain breach, your license won't be revoked. Then if old or if existing operators have to follow the new requirements, then there may be the possibility that the license will be revoked. And when it comes to equipment, furniture used in the food premises, well, after 2010, in all food premises, smoking is banned. With the smoking ban in the food trade, under what circumstances will there be a fire accident? Why is it that the government wants to propose all these? I think the licensing conditions exceed the actual need. There are other ways to deal with the problem. I don't think the trade should be subject to unnecessary pressure. Undersecretary, thank you. I would ask representative of the FSD to give more information to Mr. Wu. Thank you, Chairman. About FS251 and the annual inspection certificate, under the existing law, in the past few years, all licensees comply with all these rules and requirements. So there won't be additional risk or cost to them. As regards Form C, Form C is about new application of license. If there is furniture made of PU foam, then they will have to fill in this item in the form. And they will have to submit delivery notes or test reports if there are any. Now, in the licensed premises, there are smoking ban. In the past, there were fire accidents because the customers paid no attention to the rule. So fireworks were displayed in the premises, and in some cases, hot pots are allowed. So under these circumstances, there may be fire. Chairman, I understand. I want to make 2 points. First, since smoking is prohibited, now for hot pots, well, there may be gas stove or electric or electronic stove. Well, if there is no fire, I don't really understand why you are going for 100% safety in premises. Is this really necessary? That's the first point. You refer to FS251. I want to clarify for existing premises and restaurants. Okay, they have got the approval. Then upon renewal of license, you won't impose new requirements so that they won't be subject to additional modification requirements. This is totally different from the food license a few years ago. Okay, will Form C be required upon renewal of license? Upon renewal of license, Form C is not needed. Form C is only needed when provisional license is applied for. For FS251, when there is a fire safety installation in the premises, they have to find an eligible contractor to handle the fire safety installation, and there is no additional risk or cost. So for existing premises, a license was issued, and when the license was issued, there was no fire sprinkler. And with the new requirements, it's true that they don't need to install new sprinkler system. So all these will govern the new premises when they apply for licenses. When there are approved fire service installations in the premises, they have to do annual check. After that, a form will have to be submitted to us. That's it.
So what about PU foam filled materials and furniture that are used in existing operations? They won't be affected, right? Only new comers will be asked to submit certificates and invoices. Yes, this is already the existing arrangement. Next, Mr. Tommy Zhang. Several points. First of all, the consultancy. I'm sorry to say this. I am calling your professionalism into question. You can sue me. Madam Chair, you find this funny that I say that they can sue me? Well, in fact, you only consulted one trade association. The association, in its Chinese title, actually shows it doesn't just involve, it's not just involved in the food business or the catering industry. It also sells stoves and cooking utensils, etc. And you said that you consulted them, or they attended the session. But what is their view? And what about these deputations here? And what about me? I'm representing the industry. You taking us as fools? Have you consulted us? Mr. Chan Han-pan just now asked who the 70 respondents are. How was the random sampling done? I won't argue with you. We have over 12,000 licensed restaurants, and yet you sought the views of nightclubs and mahjong schools, etc. Well, and you say that this number is sufficient. That may be the case for funeral homes or shops selling caskets, because there are only a few of them. For P licenses, provisional licenses, Mr. Christopher Chong and Mr. Wu Chi-wai, who used to be urban council members, they understand. Or rather, district board members. Well, provisional licenses, you allow these licensees to get the relevant certificates within 6 weeks. But it's difficult, and members of the industry would understand, because payment would not be made in one go. It would be paid in phases. Even for shop renovation, you need to test out the furniture before you make full payment. So the 6-week grace period is really outrageous in my view. You should not impose this condition in the provisional license. You should impose condition on the formal license and not in the provisional license. I think you will face fewer objections from the industry if you do so. FS 251 is also problematic. If you ask the owner of the floor of the building to get this certificate, or if you ask ourselves to get this certificate for our own premises, it's still problematic. You need to understand. You say that no extra burden has been imposed, but it's a question of when I am supposed to do it. I will be bullied by the owner or the landlord. In Cornwall Court right now, there is no restaurant at all. So you should regulate those band rooms instead of restaurants. Madam Chair, I don't need them to answer my question on the replacement of furniture. Does it mean that I need to submit a plan in future if I am to replace furniture? What if this chair is broken? Will I be asked to submit a certificate of PU foam filled mattresses and upholstered furniture before I can replace a chair? Well, this question should be answered. Things have become more and more difficult, and you haven't considered them at all. All right, Mr. Tommy Cheung's time is up, and I will take on his question. Para 14, for existing premises, would submission of invoices and certificates of PU foam-filled mattresses and upholstered furniture be required for existing operations? Well, there is discretion in this matter. If this is just a replacement of one or two chairs and the same design and materials used are adopted, then so you haven't answered my question. Does it mean that the invoices and test certificates are required for license renewal, or what? At the time of license renewal application, the test certificates of PU foam furniture should be submitted. But say after a few years, when the furniture is to be replaced, they would be required to submit another certificate for the furniture for replacement. We take a pragmatic approach. If it is of the same design, of the same materials used, we'll look at the test certificate and look at the furniture. Madam Chair, thank you for following up on this point. I'm talking about one or two chairs out of 10,000. It seems that it can be exempted. But you need to understand, tapestry, carpet, there are different kinds. Does it mean that if I am to replace the curtains, I need to submit the certificate as well? Because my license would be revoked. This is serious. So when you say this is pragmatic, please consider whether it is. Mr. Stephen Ho. I'd like to follow up on Madam Chair's question. Are there any cases in which before license renewal some of the furniture is replaced and I am unable to submit any invoices and I need some time to obtain the invoices and certificates? And when the time is due, will you reject the license renewal? Thank you, Deputy Chairman Mr. Ho. I reiterate, for license renewal, our focus is not on furniture. Our focus is on FSI. However, in Para 14, here it says facilitating the applicant to declare whether PU foam-filled mattresses, etc. are in use. That's for professional license. And yet declaration is needed. That means it's not just about fire safety installations. This is an exercise that will be conducted at the time when a new license is applied. So for license renewal, what if I replace the furniture? And if I use this material, that means you can't regulate it. Well, like Mr. Tommy Cheung, I'm going to replace all the furniture in one go. And if something goes wrong and if it's left out in your checking, then who should be responsible? During license renewal, if they declare that all the furniture will be replaced, then the test certificates of these of the furniture is required. That's existing practice. So when is declaration needed on replacement of how many pieces of furniture? Please answer me this question. Normally, we see it's the industry's practice that after the furniture has been used for some time, they will be replaced in one go along with the renovation of the premises. So it's not difficult for us to retrieve the test certificate for the furniture used before. And like I said, if the new furniture is of the same design and it tallies with the record. Of course, for a huge restaurant having over 10,000 chairs, of course, a declaration is not necessary for replacement of one chair. What about the small freestyle restaurants? Each chair might be different. I just want to be fair. Yes, I'll defer to my colleague, Sir Cheung. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Member, for the question. On replacing furniture, if PU foam materials are used, test certificates and invoices are required. For ready-to-make furniture, they are in compliance with our standards. They have the test certificates ready. And if it's similar to the previous batch, it's easier to find similar furniture. On license renewal, under the proposed new measures, we only require the licensee to submit the FS 251 and the AIC. Our time is running out, and we still have 3 members waiting to ask questions in the second round. So please be brief, 1 minute each. Mr. Wu Chi-wai, Tommy Cheung, and Mr. Christopher Chung. Madam Chair, my question is very simple. The administration proposes to implement it in the second quarter, but having heard the sector's view, I think they should report back to us first before implementing it. We think the devil is in the details, which may affect the industry. So, Madam Chair, let's make a decision today. If this is to be implemented, all the details should be reported to us again. Of course, I urge the administration to reconsider whether this should be proceeded with and its effectiveness, and whether there are cost implications and what you want to achieve. Because it's very unfair to operators. So you need operational details. Give us a paper before you implement it. Sorry, speaker's not coming through. Sorry, can't hear you, Mr. Wong. We propose to introduce this new measure in the second quarter. And in fact, in our timetable, we hope to issue some guidelines. May I propose that later we will report to members details of the guidelines. The major recommendations are set out in the paper. For details, we would disclose more for the industry's compliance. We hope that after completing the guidelines, we can report back to members.
Mr. Tommy Cheung, Chairman, I would like to make one more point. In our paper, RMA wrote us a letter. RMA is a very large association. I guess you all know it. In their paper, they stated clearly that they object to this proposal. So they do not only operate food premises, they are a very impartial association. Undersecretary, I don't want to fight with you. The easiest way is that you should not continue to talk about doing things in Q2. Now, I think I can schedule a meeting together with you, the trade, and the FSD. Let's see whether there is a way out. If their operating environment won't be affected, if they won't be subject to additional costs, then we can continue our discussion. This is not only about money. The licensing or the approval process will be longer, and there will be problems about replacing furniture. FS 251 is about equipment, but, well, there may be other activities in the building nearby, and as a result, the practitioners may not be able to continue their business. Now, the trade is subject to a lot of anxiety, and we don't want to see that. Mr. Chong Shu Kan, now the burden rests with the trade. They have to do a lot of things. Can you target this problem at source? For instance, can you do something with the manufacturers or suppliers of PU foam-filled furniture? Can you require that they have to meet your requirements before they can sell their products to the market? I think the number of suppliers is far fewer than the number of buyers. There are only a few suppliers. Even if we are talking about imported furniture, well, the requirements have to be met before the products can be imported. So I think this is a good solution. Besides, not only the food premises can benefit, other premises or households may need to use this kind of furniture, and there may be fire safety concern. Deputy Chairman, I want them to answer this question. Can the problem be solved at source? I don't think so. Yes, it would be difficult. I want the department to answer me. You are the deputy chairman. You are not in the right position to answer me, but your time is up. Well, just now, I haven't used up my time. I don't think you are in the right position to answer me. Okay, can the administration answer the question? FSD? Thank you, Chairman. In the premises, there may be different design, there may be different combination of materials, PU, foam may be used, and so it's difficult to regulate at source. It will be very difficult. Deputy Chairman, you have 1 minute. Okay. We all support the move to enhance safety, but I don't think there is enough communication between the government and the trade. So after this meeting, perhaps Mr. Tommy Cheung can help. More meetings should be convened. I don't want everybody to feel puzzled. There is such a big gap between the government and the trade, so I think the government can reconsider the whole thing. Time is up. We should conclude this item here. So concerning the actual implementation details and guidelines, can you write up all these guidelines and then come back to us? When will this paper be ready? Permanent Secretary. The paper has been tabled for members for some time. We will work on the guidelines as soon as possible. However, because all these involve food safety, so we would like to implement things as soon as possible. We would like to maintain our original position. Concerning the details, we will submit the wording as soon as possible. Can there be a temporary motion? I think everybody has heard very clearly that no one is in support of you. Not only the trade is objecting you. Well, if you want to fight, okay, let's go ahead. Perhaps we should wait for the implementation guidelines from the administration. It can be circulated among members. If there's the need for further discussion, we can schedule a meeting. I think they should really consult the trade. They should not only make a decision based on consultation with 70 representatives, including mahjong establishments or karaoke and so on. Okay, point taken. Thank you very much for coming to this meeting. If you have any written submissions, please give us a copy for our records. The last agenda item is review of small volume exemption fees. Because we have overrun, so I have to consult members. Is there any objection if I extend this meeting by 15 minutes? Okay, if members don't have too much to say, any objection? If not, then let's extend this meeting for 15 minutes and let's be quick. Okay, let's invite the administration representatives to come in. Members, can you please come back into the conference room? Okay. Can the administration please brief the paper? Mr. Chan. Thank you, Chairman, members. In 2008, when the nutrition licensing or labeling scheme was introduced, there is a small volume exemption system for prepackaged foods. Every year, sales volume, if it is below 30,000 units, and if there is not a nutrition claim on the label, then food manufacturers or importers can apply for an exemption. So this is known as small volume exemption, SVE. If the annual sales volume has not exceeded 30,000 units, then the operators can apply for renewal of this exemption. So small volume exemption and the renewal fee is $345 and $335. And in 2008, when the nutrition labeling scheme was introduced, this fee level is set based on the recovery of cost principle, including administrative costs, office accommodation, wages, and so on. And applicants can make application by means of email, mail, fax, and so on, or in person. They can also do so electronically. We have got the computer system, a fixed food import control system. So application must be submitted online. Applicants must register as user, and then we will give them a password. Then they can make use of this system. For the Food Safety Center, in April 2011, we accepted all electronic applications via fax. After accumulating some experience and after streamlining the process, we have upgraded the computer system, so efficiency is now better. The measure has saved time required to handle the applications, so there's cost saving as well. After a review, based on cost recovery principle, so by making electronic applications via fax, fees can be reduced by 23% and 25%. So in other words, there are 23% fewer applications and 25% fewer renewal applications. The actual fees involved are $265 and $250. The review has also shown that if applications are submitted in other ways, the related cost is higher than the current fee by less than 5%. So this time we haven't increased the fee for applications submitted this way because the implication to the government revenue is insignificant, so we recommend that such fees should remain unchanged. For submission by electronic means via fax, we propose that fees can be reduced to $265 and $250 respectively, and all other things will remain unchanged. So electronic submissions via fax is a good way. We would like to encourage the trade to use more of this approach, and then there can be savings in paper consumption. This is more environment friendly. And we propose to make legislative amendments to introduce these lower fees as soon as possible. Members, any questions? So now you offer a new electronic application mechanism. Well, it is in place in April 2011, but after accumulating some experience, we're of the view that the fees can be reduced because the process is streamlined, and we have actually analyzed the findings. fee reduction can encourage the public to use the electronic channel. And your fees can reflect the cost recovery principle, right? If you can further streamline your administrative process, can you reduce fees further in the future? Thank you for the question. When we reviewed this application method, we have already considered the simplified procedure set out in Para 6. We have looked into whether some administrative steps can be saved, and so I think this is already at the actual fee level that we must require, because we have to adhere to the cost recovery principle. Yes, I just wanted the fees to be further lower. For the waiver, well, we're talking about annual sales volume not exceeding 30,000 units. Is this a permanent approach? After a certain time limit, is there the arrangement that this waiver, this exemption may be abolished? Under CAT 132W, when the nutrition labeling scheme was introduced, there is this small volume exemption system in the law. This number was fixed because we would like to strike a balance among different types of food. At that time, the trade made a suggestion accepted by LegCo. That is, if they are required to do 1+7 labeling, in case if they would like to introduce some new food items to the market, there will be difficulties. So at that time, a balanced approach was adopted, and it was written into the law. The 30,000 units is in the law. In the past 1 year, how many applications were there in relation to the small volume exemption, and how many types of food products were involved? Okay, I will defer to my colleague. Dr. Lee? Thank you, Chairman. Every year, they have to apply one more time, and as of now, there are 16,000 products that enjoy this SVE. 16,000 different types of products. Yes. Then are they mainly drinks or food, or what categories are we talking about? We don't have the information now. Drinks, food are all involved. Based on our past experience, usually they are food consumed by fewer people, so the sales volume is lower. Can you give us some written information so that we know which categories are covered by these exemptions? So do they need to apply once every year? Yes. In the past year, if their sales volume did not exceed 30,000 units, then they could apply. If they don't apply, then it is their choice to include the 1+7 nutrition label. Then this is even more welcomed by us. Can you give us the written information after the meeting?
Any other questions from members on this issue? If not, then that concludes the item. What will be the next step? Philip? If members support this amendment, the legislative amendment will be introduced. It will be very simple, mainly to amend the fees. It will be done by way of subsidiary legislation, which will be tabled into the Council. And the Council can then decide whether to set up a subcommittee. AOB. Well, thank you, Administration, for attending. There was a visit to the Animal Management Center in North New Territories, and this will take place on a Monday from 2 to 5 on the 23rd of December 2013. We'll be visiting the AMC in NT North to understand the operation of the AFCD's AMC. As of Friday, 4 members, including myself, Deputy Chair, and Ms. Claudia Mo and Mr. Ray Chen, have signed up for it. But in fact, according to the AFCD, the AMC can accommodate not more than 10 members. So members, should we allow members not sitting on this panel to join the visits? It will be done on a first come first served basis. Any objection? The cap is 10 because of the size. So will the Secretariat inform other members that it will be enrolled on a first come first served basis with a maximum number of 10. In relation to the other visit, in the beginning of next year, we will be discussing issues related to food safety, so there will be another visit on the Food Control Office at Man Kam To. We'll try to arrange for a visit in January. Once we finalize the date, we will contact members. And this is mainly to understand the the testing of imported food. Details of the visit will be forwarded to members. Anything on the A will be? All right, then meeting's adjourned. Thank you.